If you sent me your project file right now, I could tell in about 5 seconds whether you've been producing for 2 years or 10. And this isn't even from your mix, it's from like 50 things that you don't even realize you're missing. And nobody's gonna compliment you on these things, but if you don't do them, they'd feel it. That's the last 20%. And I wanna show you what that looks like over things like sound design, arrangement, and your mix. Okay, so first up, let's talk about your sounds. And this isn't really sound selection. It's more what you've done with your sounds after you place them. Most producers will just find some great sounds, place them in the arrangement, and leave them there, static, not moving. But here's how I think about it. Every main element that you put in should have some automation on it. Let me show you some examples of this. So on my vocal here, I'm doing things like automating reverb, delay, and a filter. Then on my bass, I have the synth's filter cutoff, opening and closing subtly. And then on the lead, I've got some volume rides that push and pull the melody back and forth. You'll also see I've got reverb swelling every 4 bars. And I'm doing a ton of filtering as well throughout the arrangement. Then in my transitions, I'm using automation to filter out elements going into the next section. I've got sends and returns creating huge reverb tails. And I'm using Endless Smile on my groups in master to run everything through some washed out effects. Next, let's talk about repurposing your sounds, using what you already have. Meaning, instead of going to Splice to find some like generic effect or atmospheric sound, can you use something that was already in the production and mix? I took this vocal and switched it to texture mode. Now holding Shift, I will drag and stretch it out. Now I can keep consolidating this by pressing Command J over and watch what happens. Now I've got this ambient pad that's made from the same vocal already in my song. You could even go further and add effects like reverb. You could do like a gated, chopped stutter effect. You can also throw a creative spin on this by adjusting this grain size and resampling it so you can record those variations in real time. You see, it creates some cool, unique effects, and then I can just basically cut any of these out and use them anywhere in the arrangement. Then we have a similar idea here. I put this huge reverb on my vocal. I'm going to bounce it to audio, and then I reverse it so that it leads and sort of sucks into the first word.
Oh my God.
And once you have this, you could also just use it anywhere in the track as like a reverse effect. I even did the same thing here with the lead, and you could hear it reversing into itself. Last thing for this section is going to be the stereo field. And most producers sort of set and forget. They choose sounds, they place them in the mix, and that's it. They leave them there. But you can create a lot more interest if you think about where those sounds sit and potentially how they change over time. These hats, for example, are alternating left and right. You could do this with multiple sounds where you just pan one to each side, or you could even do this on one singular sound and use something like an auto pan that would move it left and right. Another fun twist on this is if you want it to be more random and humanized, you could do something like I'm doing here in Panman using a random shape. You could even use the basic simpler or sampler to achieve that same random panning effect. And then there's the bigger picture stuff, creating contrast between narrow and wide. Take this vocal section, for example. I have these 2 vocal parts and they call and respond because the first one is wide and then the second one is narrow, and then wide and then narrow. That kind of dynamic movement is just a subtle way you can keep a mix feeling alive and less static. Now, real quick, if you're watching this and feel like you just want more hands-on help with this stuff, we have our program, Cosmic Academy. I'll put an application in the comments below. And just to say this, we don't take money from other companies to push their products. So I hope we can at least push what we do. This video is for free. The least I could do is talk about our class and our program. It's better than me trying to sell you some hair loss supplement. All right, so let's move on to arrangement because this is where most tracks fall apart. Your arrangement is where the story gets told, and I can't tell you how many times I've opened up a student's project, and it's just the same 8 16-bar loops throughout the whole arrangement. But put yourself in a listener's perspective. If things aren't changing, they're going to feel flat. The story doesn't evolve. So here's what I would look for. Something as simple as this. I've got 2 different clap samples, one with a slightly lower tone and one with a higher, and they alternate back and forth. Every other one is sort of emphasized. Same idea here. Anytime you've got a long loop, ask yourself, can I create some variation in the rhythm? This is doing the same thing for 16 bars. So maybe I create a small variation at the end of the first 8, and then I could do a different one at the end of the second 8. And then on a bigger scale, you could think about creating a moment in the track that feels completely different. This middle section here, I switched to the bass only playing the root note instead of that progression. And I even highlight a vocal chop that I haven't used anywhere else yet in the track. Then I also have a pad that doesn't even show up until this middle break. It's like introducing a new character halfway through a movie to spark interest again. The other thing I would do is literally zoom out from your arrangement and just look at it. You should see sections where there is addition and subtraction. You should have different feeling from section to section, call it break to drop. But there should be change in volume, frequency, energy. And if you're looking at this and listening to this and it looks flat, sounds flat, it's going to translate the exact same way to your listener. And then your fills and transitions. Spend time on these. A lot of producers rush through them. The key here is going to be contrast. So my drop, for example, is big. There's a lot of elements coming in at once. I made the end of my build simple on purpose. There isn't much going on. That way, when everything hits, it feels huge because you're coming from a moment that had almost nothing playing. Last section, let's talk about some mix things that are easy to overlook but make a big difference. So this video isn't necessarily like a full-on mixing tutorial, but here are a few things that people tend to forget about, and they actually make a difference after you've already arranged things and have them sounding pretty good. First, when's the last time you soloed your return channels and just listened to them? We set up these sends and returns with reverbs and delays early on in our project, but we tend to never check them again. So solo them. Listen to what's building up on these channels. You might have low end or high end accumulating, and that could be muddying up your mix and you just don't realize it. So clean it up. Cut the lows. You can roll off highs if you need to. Next, separation. And what I'm talking about here is not just like regular EQ, but dynamic EQ. Whether you're using Trackspacer like me or some other dynamic plugin, think about ducking the frequencies of one element around another. My chords are ducking to basically everything because they sit furthest back in the mix. They're going to give up priority to whatever's in front of them. Then I have things like my leads ducking to the vocal when that comes in. I also have it ducking to the lower frequency so my bass cuts through. Then within my bass, this is kind of cool, I have these 2 layers. And I actually have my lower main bass layer ducking to the higher bass guitar in those mids, just so the bass guitar cuts through and really takes that space. These are small moves, but when you stack them up, suddenly everything has its own space without you having to carve away huge gaps of volume using a static EQ. Now look, I couldn't show you everything in this video because there are so many little things from a detail perspective that we can think about. So this list is going to hopefully give you ideas of just things you can try, things you can check, and by no means do you need to do all of these in every mix. I think it's just little pieces you want to keep in the back of your head. Think of them as tools in your toolkit, but these are small things that add up to make a big difference in the end. If you found this one helpful, I'm sure the next one will be too, so I'm going to pop that up on screen right now, and I'll catch you in the next video.